Well, good evening, YouTube. It's been a few years since I've made any videos about arc lamps, but tonight I had a little bit of free time and wanted to share with you this fantastic General Electric Form-7 alternating current series streetlight. And this is going to be a real quick video. I'm too lazy to edit the darn thing, but I'm not a super huge fan of these Form-7 enclosed carbon arc lamps simply because they're outside lights, and I just don't find them particularly elegant, and they're very utilitarian in their design, and they are outside street lights. But in this video, I'd like to go over the outside components of these beautiful early 1900s, 1890, late 1890s fixtures, as they are quite common. And we'll take the shell off of the thing and put some voltage on it. You'll see and hear and get to witness how this very interesting and somewhat easy to find enclosed carbon arc lamp. So on the Form-7 fixtures, they have GE offered two different types of terminal blocks. These terminals right here are used on all their outside street lights. It's a more industrial, robust design. It has two terminal screws on it to grip the wire, and it's just a more heavy-duty design. The inside lamps have a smaller version of that. You've got your cutout switch, so when your trimmer would lower the lamp for trimming in order to isolate it from the circuit, they would flip the cutout switch this way and it would break the circuit to offer some degree of protection. And then of course we have our lovely cast iron shell. And interestingly, this lamp, I bought it a few years ago. I paid about $1,000 for it, which was a very, very reasonable price, because normally when you get these things, the zinc or copper shell is just beat to absolute hell. When these things hit eBay, they tend to go for around $2,000 in current pricing as of 2024. But many collectors, and this is kind of a contentious issue, are going to greatly argue about what these things are worth. Ultimately, arc lamps are worth whatever the highest buyer is going to pay for them. So that's very subjective and outside of the scope of this video. So we're checking out the nameplate. This particular one, I would have to ask Michael Spadafora. He's the expert on these things, but I believe, it is my opinion, that this is a later version of one of these. The nameplate reads Thompson Enclosed Arc Lamp, General Electric Company, Schenectady, New York, USA. It has a copper shell, which is why I think it's later. The earlier ones had a zinc shell, which is extremely fragile, and they dent, and you just look at them the wrong way and the darn things get dents in them. And usually these the bottom lip on these things is always missing or damaged, so it's very, very rare to find the shell straight out of the auction and antique store where it's pretty much dead mint. I don't have the correct enclosing globe. I haven't really put any effort into getting one. This is the same basic design for the enclosing globe, except on the Form-7s it's going to be a little bit longer, so that the gas cap right here hooks into here in order to secure it to the fixture. It's going to look basically the same. It's just a little bit elongated. At the base, we have the bottom carbon holder slash globe holder. In order to loosen the glass globe, in order to take it off of the lamp, you take this collar ring right here and you unscrew it, and inside of it, if you can see, is a spring that is compressed down to securely mount the glass enclosing globe. And to change those carbons, you loosen these thumb screws right here, which it looks like I can do. We're going to tighten this down. I don't want that stupid enclosing globe to break. That's probably the most rare part of the lamp. The glassware is always going to be missing. But you loosen these two thumb screws, the whole assembly twists out like this, and then you can lift it up and detach it from the fixture. But we're not going to do that because I've only got one hand available right now. In order to take that carbon out, you have a thumb screw right here. You loosen that thumb screw, and then your bottom carbon can be detached from the bottom carbon holder. I don't have the glassware for these. I haven't put much effort. I've kind of fallen out of the arc lamp and street lighting community, but your globe, there's going to be a ring that screws on here I've got somewhere, and then your globe is secured against these springs, and it's actually got a spring lock mechanism where you twist this whole assembly here. You can see how it locks into place there. You can twist it, and then the whole thing drops down, which is a pretty neat feature. This whole thing drops down with the glassware so that you can access the inner components to change out the carbons. Typical carbon use on a half-inch enclosed AC lamp is going to be about 150 hours, roughly. Running a full night service is going to be about every 5 to 7 days. So in a time period where you had kerosene lamps and candles, people were not that unaccustomed to the idea of changing something in their light source. So changing out the carbons was not a foreign idea to anyone at that time. And of course, the carbon companies and the power companies loved that they had consumable parts, most certainly. So that covers the basics on the outside portion of this Form-7 GE enclosed series arc lamp. So we're going to take off the outer shell. It's got this thumb screw, this nice little brass thumb screw right here that we're going to take out. We're going to remove that thumb screw. I'm going to go sit it here by this thing here that I'm going to explain here in a second as to why that's there once we get the shell off to go over the electrical components. Now that that thumb screw is removed, I twist, let's see if we can do it with one hand, twist the whole thing counterclockwise and just lower it off the unit. Sit it on the ground, don't drop it because that thing's very fragile. And we'll have a brief little look-see inside of the electrical components. So, like I said, this is a GE Form-7 series enclosed arc lamp. It's enclosed because there's a glass globe enclosing the arc, keeping the oxygen off of it to prolong the life of the arc, the carbons. And it's a series lamp because it has certain components that would put it in a high voltage string of lamps and bypassing equipment when the carbons burn out to keep the string running. So there's two sets of solenoid coils in here. We've got our main lifting coils, which lift the whole carbon holding assembly. You can see how there's a clutch and it comes up. The whole thing comes up. See that right there? It's kind of the dash pot's sticky on the damn thing. But it raises the carbon, and when the current's broke, it falls back down. So there's two sets of coils here on a series lamp. We've got our main lifting coils, which is in series with the arc. And then we have our, I don't know what to call these things, but I call them the series shunt coils. And why do I call them the series shunt coils? Because when the main arc is broken, when the carbons burn out and they're not able to touch, the shunt coils are still in series with the two terminals, okay? These little finely wound coils are in series with the terminals, all right? I actually think they're in parallel. They're in parallel because when there's current on the terminals, these coils are always engaged. And why would we want those coils engaged? Because they're going to take this part of the cantilever mechanism right here, and they're going to suck up on it. Now, if you notice, the two coils are pulling against each other. You got your main lifting coils, which are doing all the force to keep that gap in the arc. But when the arc is broken, then the series shunt coils are sucking it up. Well, why would you want them sucking the other side of this cantilever system in place? Well, because if you look here, when this side on the left, when the series shunt coils are pulling, see how it's pulling it up? What they're doing is pushing this bypass switch down. So the carbons are burned up, the main lifting coils aren't in action, the series shunt coils are pushing that bypass switch shut, which just happens to be, this bypass switch just happens to be in series with this iron resistor. And this resistor has the same resistance value of the main lifting coils plus the arc, so that your regulation system isn't thrown out of whack. So it's a fail-safe design that, like I said, when the main lifting coils that are in series with the arc, when the carbons are burnt down, the shunt coils will take over. They'll pull that lifting mechanism here, throw in the bypass switch, which is in series with this lovely iron resistor. This particular fixture, when I got it, was in immaculate shape. I haven't done anything to this thing except dust out a few cobwebs and whatnot. Normally when you get these arc lamps, they're going to have shit all over them. Components are going to be rusted and or missing. And I was extremely lucky to get this fixture in the condition that it's in. This thing's in really great shape. So that covers the basic electrical operating principles of the Form-7 fixture. We're going to look on the other side, and you can see on the cantilever system there is an iron weight. And what you do that is just, you can slide this weight back and forth to kind of change your arc gap distance. The more weight that's on one side, when you slide it back and forth, it's going to change your arc gap distance depending on the weight and how much pressure is being put on that. The dash pot is a cushioning system not too dissimilar to the shocks in your car, that consists of a graphite cylinder and a little brass tube with a little air regulator. It's like a ball bearing with a spring. So instead of this thing, when you turn it on, it jerks up, it has that dash pot to kind of slowly cushion it, and it slowly rises up. It's just a shock absorption system. Interestingly, and I didn't touch this at all, but at some point in time in the 1890s, 1900s, the trimmer put these little wires on the shock absorption system, and I just kind of left them on there. It makes it a little bit more rigid because it's bypassing part of this strut design, which is pretty interesting. I always love seeing these modifications, and it's just a really cool lamp. Here in a second, when I turn it on, you're going to see why I don't really care for these things. I definitely would not want an AC lamp in my living room because they're just so damn noisy, and they flicker and they sputter. Ugh. Interestingly, we can look inside the shell here, and it still has this really trendy little label here. It says patented May 2nd, 1899, General Electric Company, Schenectady, New York, USA, and presumably some type of part number for the copper shell. So, you know, that's really cool. You can see the locking tabs, how it twist locks into place, and it's just a really interesting fixture. You know, I'm sure these were great street lights for a few years while the technology was current, but around 1913, when tungsten lamps came along, these things were quickly made obsolete and placed in the scrap bin. And I'm sure many people were thankful, because changing the carbon sod on these on a weekly basis was probably a huge pain in the ass. So anyway, with that being said, this is a series lamp, like I said, so it would have some type of external current regulation. And what this big chunk of metal and copper is a inductive reactor that limits the current flow, because if I were to connect this fixture directly to the wall current, it would trip the breaker, hopefully, because it would draw a shit ton of current, as it has no current limiting ability. And this copper wire wound around a piece of laminated metal is the inductor or current limiting device. It uses inductive reactance to limit the current of alternating current that goes to the lamp. So enough of running my mouth. I know you're probably sick and tired. You just want me to put some voltage on this damn thing, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. Let me prop my phone up in a nice position so we can get a good feel of this thing here in the garage. And I'm going to put some voltage on it. You can see and hear what it sounds like. So in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So you notice it's kind of noisy. That's why I don't like these lamps. Dashpot's sticking, the arc extinguished, and the carbons didn't drop. So I'm going to use my little screwdriver here, and I'm going to assist it. Ooh. Let's see if we can get a good view of that arc. Yeah, there we go. Keep in mind that this is operating at 60 hertz, so it's not going to be super quiet. Normally, these would operate on 130, 120, 133 hertz, something to that effect. So the pitch of that would be a lot higher and it wouldn't flicker as much. This is emitting a shit ton of ultraviolet radiation. You can see all the purple. The borosilicate glass is stopping quite a bit of it, but my white shorts are glowing purple right now, and I'm probably getting a good suntan. Yeah, you hear all that? I wouldn't want this in my living room. This is definitely a street light. Very utilitarian in design. It throws off as much light as probably a 100 watt incandescent bulb, maybe a 50 watt mercury vapor. It's not much. This thing draws about, I want to say about 7 amps, 7 amps. So we'll do a strike one more time. Let me reset it with my screwdriver here. I'm going to pull the arc gap apart. Okay, well that's not going to work. Pretty cool stuff. I wish there were more videos on YouTube documenting these things, but there just aren't too many working ones, and I think a lot of people just don't want to go through the effort of making these videos. But I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If you have any questions, just post it in the comments. I've been collecting arc lamps for a long time, and the electromechanical technology behind them is really cool. So until next time, I'll see you guys later, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.